Hi guys, we can use matrices to solve systems of equations, and in this kind of problem it's a little like doing a Sudoku or something like that. Once you know the rules, it's kind of fun. So let's lay it out. The first rule is, let me do this so I can write on it. The first rule is that we can interchange any two rows. You might want to write this down because I'm not going to be able to keep this screen the whole time. Okay, the second rule is that we can multiply all of the entries in a row by a constant. And the third rule that we have to have is that we can replace one row with the sum of that row and a multiple of another row. And number 4, we should write that the goal is that we want to get our matrix to look like this, 1, 0, 0, 1, because that means that the first row is going to give us a value for x because the y is 0, and the second row is going to give us a value for y because the x is 0. So let's see what we can do with this. Make sure you wrote that down. If you didn't, pause, write that down, because I'm going to delete this. All right, so in this system, so we have 2x plus 16y equals -4, and we have 6x plus 52y equals -12. And what we're going to do, if you look under step 1, is we're going to just take the coefficients and the constants right off of this. So notice that we wrote 2, 16, -4. So those are the numbers right out of the first equation. And then the second row we wrote 6, 52, -12. And those are the numbers right out of the second equation. So our goal is to get, I'll go ahead and get another screenshot here. I'll just start about right there so I have lots of room. Our goal is to get these numbers to be 1, 0, 0, 1. And we have to follow those rules to make that happen. We're not going to worry about what happens over here because that's going to be the solution when we get done. Okay, so we'll let that happen. All right, so the first thing that they have done here is they just simplified the first row. So if I divide every piece of that by 2, I will get 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and -4 divided by 2 is -2. So that row right there was just created by dividing everything by 2. You could say multiply by 1/2, but that's the rule that said we can multiply an entire row by a constant. All right, so we have made this number that used to be a 2 is now a 1. Fabulous. Now what can we do? Well, we can multiply this top row, 1, 8, and -2. We can multiply it by -6. Why would I want to do that? Because once I divide it by -6, I'll have -6, -48, and +12. And when I add that to this row right here, the main goal was to find something to add to this to make it be 0. And 6 plus -6 is 0. And so we multiplied this top row because there's already a 1 there. That made that really easy. We multiplied it by -6. Okay, so we have this row on the top. We're going to add it to this row and we'll get new values. So when we add this, we get 0, we get +4, and we get 0. So that's awesome. That's where we got those numbers right there, 0, 4, and 0. So now we have obtained some of our goal, a 1 and a 0. Now we need to try to create a 0 here and a 1 here. So let's see what happened in the next step. We're going to bring all this down here. So the first line is the same, and the second line became a 1. So I'm kind of guessing what happened on that row is just dividing everything by 4. That's kind of awesome because 0 divided by 4 is just going to be 0, so you're not going to mess up your zeros. So if we do 0, 4, and 0, I'll just look at it here because I already wrote it, and we divide everything by 4, this is when we get 0, 1, 0. So that's cool. This particular time, we just divided by 4 the whole way across. All right, so we've got a 1, we've got a 0 and a 1, and we need that to be a 0. So what can we do? Let me go ahead and delete this so I can push that up a little bit more. That's about where we are, right? So I am going to, let's see, find my place again because we are looking at this row. And we need this guy to become a 0. And so what are we going to do? We are going to multiply maybe multiply the bottom by -8. Okay, so this row right here, if I take 0, 1, 0, and I times it by -8, 0 times -8 is 0, and then there's -8, and then 0 times -8 is 0 again. So I have 0, -8, and 0, and I'm going to add that to that 1, 8, -2 row. So here's what I get. I get 1 and 0 and -2. 1, 0, -2. And so that's what happened here. I multiplied everything here so that I could add it to here, and then I got these numbers. So the top is 1, 0, -2, and the bottom is 0, 1, 0. So here's the answer. The top, because there's a 1 where x is going to give us the x value. So the x value is -2, and then the y value is down here. It's actually 0. So that would be our answer. Let's look at the explanation just a little bit more to make sure that we did that okay. Dun, dun, dun. There's that dividing by 4. Here's that timesing by a -8. And then there's our solution with the -2 and the 0. Very nice. Let's do another one. Okay, so we have this system, 4x plus 16y equals -12, and -4x minus 11y equals -3. And so I'm going to start right off by just reading those numbers and writing them down and ignoring my x's and y's. They're all lined up, right? So we have a number with an x, a number with a y, and then a constant. And our constants go over here. All right, so they have written that right here for us. What are they going to do first? They're going to take this entire first row and do something to it to get there. Do you see it? They're going to divide by 4. They're going to divide everything by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Cool. Okay, there's step 1. Let's run this up a little bit. Step 1 brings down into step 2, so we can screenshot that. All right, so now what are we going to do? Notice that the first row is going to stay the same, so we're obviously doing an action to the second row. And somehow we're making this negative 4 turn into a 0. Well, because this is a 1 right here, if we multiply this entire row times positive 4, times positive 4, so we're going to go times 4, we end up with 4, 16, negative 12, right? 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. We are going to add that to the second row and create that 0 that we want right there. So when we do this operation on the other row so that we can add it to the row we're working on, we're not actually going to change anything up there. It's just that we're allowed to do this to change the row we're working on. So what is this, a 5? And this is a negative 15. Okay, awesome. Here it is right there. So we now have a 1 where we want it. Remember the goal? We're going 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, we have a 1 where we want it, a 0 where we want it. We need to change these numbers before we're finished. All right, so we're going to bring all that into step 3. In step 3, we're going to somehow make that turn into a 1. All right, so what we did was divide this whole entire row by 5, right? So we're going to go 0, 5, and negative 15, and we're going to divide each part of this by 5. As long as it's the same number, we're allowed to do it by any number we want to. So this becomes 0, this becomes 1, and this becomes negative 3. 0, 1, and negative 3. Awesome. So we're going to send this guy down here. What do we have to deal with the last? That. So we're going to do that nifty trick where we take this row, we're going to multiply it by negative 4, because negative 4 plus 4 would give us a 0. And, okay, I'm running out of workspace here, but I'll switch to green so you can see better. I have a 0, a 1, and a negative 3. I'm going to times by negative 4. So I'm going to get 0, negative 4, and positive 12. All right? I'm going to add that to the row I'm working on, which happened to be 1, 4, and negative 3. I'm adding these together. 0 and 1 is 1. Negative 4 and 4 is 0. And 12 and negative 3 is positive 9. So up here, I have 1, a 0, and a positive 9. 1, 0, 9. All right, so I believe we're there. We have 1, 0, 0, 1, and what's left over here is a 9 and a negative 3. 9 and negative 3. So that means that x is going to be 9 and y is going to be negative 3. Let's go back to the explanation. Okay. Here they're doing these things. Here's the rules that I was just telling you. You can change the order of either row. If you already have a 1, you'll want to change that. You can multiply by a non-zero constant. You can add a constant multiple of one row to another row. And the elementary row operations produce equivalent augmented matrices. Boy, those are big words, aren't they? Okay, so here is what we did. We called it dividing by 4, not multiplying by 1/4, but that's good. And we get down to the answers, which were 9 and -3. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. It's kind of complicated, but it's kind of fun. If you like to play math puzzles like Sudoku or something, it's a little like learning a math puzzle. And it's kind of fun that you work through a system by doing these tricky things and get the answers.